Hello and welcome back to Indistinct Chatter. I'm Aliza and Happy New Year! We are here in 2026 and the year has already started off with some pretty insane news, but I'm not here to add to your doom scrolling. I have decided to take a more positive approach this year because all I did last year was doom scroll and so my mental health took a pretty sharp turn. So I'm trying something different. Also, I'm recording with my door open because I live on the third floor and heat rises and it is toasty in here. So apologies if you hear some traffic outside. I tried doing some test recordings and I couldn't hear them in the test, but who knows? Anyway, since it's a new year, I thought it would be fun to discuss some predictions for this year. Not resolutions, not goals, just patterns. I always find it fun to see which predictions burned bright and faded quick and which ones actually stuck around. So let's get this party going, shall we? First up, AI. If it feels like AI is suddenly everywhere all at once, it's because it kind of is. The CES tech show is happening as of recording, and if you're like me and had no idea what CES even stood for, it's basically the biggest tech industry event in the world. It used to stand for Consumer Electronics Show, but now it's just CES, run by the Consumer Technology Association, and it's where companies show off what they think the future is going to look like. And the big theme this year is what they're calling physical AI. Basically, just a fancy way of saying AI isn't just for our screens anymore. It's entering our physical space. We're talking robots that can physically interact with the world, AI built into cars, home systems, factories, basically AI that doesn't just answer questions, but moves, decides, and acts. Companies showed off humanoid robots doing physical tasks, AI assistants designed to live in your home, and even robots being tested to build cars. Hyundai cars might actually be built by AI robots in just a few short years. Not 2058, but 2028. It's all very iRobot / Black Mirror and not exactly in a comforting way. I'm not anti-AI. I think that there are real, meaningful ways this could help people, especially folks with disabilities, people who live alone, or people who don't have access to reliable care or assistance. And in those cases, having an AI humanoid robot helping them could genuinely increase independence and safety. But at the same time, I don't think most of us asked for this much, this fast. It feels like AI is being injected into every part of life before we've even fully decided if it's actually making things better or if it's just another thing we're expected to adapt to. One of the biggest criticisms of AI that I see is the environmental cost. All this processing power requires massive data centers that use a ton of energy and water. At CES, some companies were even showcasing small nuclear-powered systems designed specifically to run AI infrastructure. On one hand, it's being pitched as carbon-free energy, but on the other hand, it still raises a whole new set of questions about risk, waste, and long-term consequences. I don't think most of us realize that AI decisions were going to lead us here this fast, and I just find it so interesting. So I don't think 2026 is necessarily about rejecting AI. I think it's the year that we start asking better questions about it. Like, is this actually making life easier? Or is it just faster, louder, and more complicated? Does this actually serve us? I think that's one of the biggest questions of 2026. And that idea, that intention, shows up in other places too, especially how we travel, use tech, and how we show up in real life. You'll see a lot of the predicted trends of 2026, they all kind of have that same theme, that intention, that is this something that serves us? So with that, the second predicted trend that we'll be seeing in 2026 is related to travel and how it's becoming less about flexing and more about what the travel actually means. Again, intention. It's the big theme here. Travel is slowing down. It's less bucket lists and more repeated visits, places tied to personal history, comfort, or wellness. And I predict a lot of folks, including travel influencers, are going to shift away from just showing where they went and start focusing more on how a trip changes the way they think or feel. The price of everything is only increasing, and a lot of us are experiencing real post pandemic travel burnout. Whether you traveled or you just have seen a lot of people travel on your social media, we're feeling that burnout. We couldn't do anything for so long. And once restrictions started lifting, a lot of people just balled out. And now we're tired. We're getting bored of seeing the over the top vacations that feel more like content than experiences. People are craving depth and stories, not just beautiful places we can't afford. We want vacations and trips that feel grounding instead of performative, experiences that actually justify the time, the money, and the energy that those experiences take. And I think a lot of us feel this, even if we can't fully articulate it yet, because I think we're done pretending that every trip has to be life changing, but we still want it to mean something. The third predicted trend of 2026 is that technology is going to start changing our daily lives, not just how we work. For a long time, tech innovation has been obsessed with productivity. Faster emails, better calendars, more apps telling us how to optimize ourselves. But in 2026, the focus is predicted to shift away from productivity tools and towards systems that actually shape how we live. Things like city infrastructure, public transit, energy systems, healthcare and home tech, and accessibility tools. Basically, tech that affects how places function, not just how many emails we can send in a day. Think about it. Remote work has plateaued, cost of living issues and climate issues are demanding smarter systems, and people want tech to solve real problems. Like I said, is this helping or is it just another thing? We want help. We don't want things. There are so many times where I'm like, okay, we have this new tech, but why does basic stuff still feel broken or outdated? Like some parts of life seem futuristic. We've got basically self-driving cars. We have at-home cancer screenings, global high-speed internet via satellites, but other parts of life still very much feel stuck in 2008. Like, why can't we transfer photos seamlessly between other tech platforms? For example, Cole has an Android that takes great photos. I have an iPhone. It also takes great photos, but sometimes his just look beautiful. So I had him send some photos to me from a camping trip so I could add them to my Instagram. But once I uploaded them, they look like shit. Why? We also have 5G, but my Wi-Fi still manages to drop if it's too windy outside, even though everything's underground. Cell service is still spotty in places that it shouldn't. I will have full bars, but if I'm downtown, I can't make a call or receive a text, and 911 calls get dropped all the time here. So I think 2026 is the year where a lot of these everyday frustrations finally get addressed, or at least that's what's being predicted. Just less flashy innovation and more fixing what's already supposed to work. We don't need more apps. Don't even get me started on everything that needs an app these days. My cat's water fountain and automatic feeder, my washer and dryer, my air freshener. We just want reliability. Anyway, the fourth predicted trend of 2026 is a full cultural shift. Real life over digital performance. I think this has been coming for some time, and I think a lot of us are getting burned out from just consuming all the time. We don't want to watch life just happen. We actually want to live it. And more people are posting less. They're deleting apps. They're choosing hobbies that don't require an audience. I'm excluded from the last part because I chose a podcast as my hobby, but I digress. One of the biggest shifts for me, though, was taking Facebook off my phone years ago. I realized that I wasn't really connecting with people anymore. I already felt like I knew everything about my friends and acquaintances' lives from social media. So when we would catch up, there wasn't anything to catch up on. We already knew what was happening, but not because we were intentionally sharing with each other. many people, including me, are exhausted from the algorithm deciding what we see, what we care about, and how we're supposed to show up. Every post is monetized now, so nothing feels fully trustworthy. Everything just feels like an ad. And for millennials, especially, we remember a time before social media completely took over. We were kids and teenagers when life wasn't constantly documented or optimized for an audience. We were just doing it for ourselves and for our friends. I'm not saying that I'm quitting social media or that you should quit social media, but for me, I have been trying to be more intentional and choosing to interact more with people who feel real, people who I know, or even if it's an influencer, just people sharing what they're actually dealing with, people making weird, funny videos with friends again, and people creating things with their hands instead of just linking products and doing shopping hauls. Personally, I miss the terrible videos, the awkward photos, and the moments that weren't necessarily meant to be seen by thousands of people. There's something very pure about that. And I really hope that we see more of that in 2026. I think a lot of us are asking the same question of who am I when no one's watching? And maybe this is the year we finally find out. Not everything needs to be content. And the fifth prediction of 2026 is all about fashion and consumption and the shift from stuff to identity. Again, we want less. We want less things. We want more life, you know? We're expected to see less trend chasing and more intentional buying, more resale, sustainability, and focus on personal style over whatever's currently in. And I love trends, don't get me wrong. They're fun and they do help put a timestamp on time, on life. I don't think they're going anywhere. I just think that they're going to matter less than they used to. Fast fashion guilt, overconsumption, and straight up identity exhaustion are really catching up with people. And I think more and more of us are asking, does this actually feel like me? Like, do you remember malls? God, I loved a mall. Going and physically walking around and finding what spoke to you, not just because an algorithm told you to buy it, but because you actually liked it. I don't think malls are coming back, but I do think that mindset is the mindset of people caring less about owning more and just wearing things that actually feel like them. I think a lot of people are sick of seeing people who are just carbon copies of Instagram or Pinterest posts. You can just tell when someone is really feeling themselves in an outfit, and that confidence is what makes it more interesting than any trend ever could. And even when someone is wearing something trendy, you can feel the difference when they chose it intentionally. You know what I mean? That's where I think fashion is headed in 2026. Less about keeping up and more about feeling like yourself. After all, this is corny, but it's true. It's not trends that make people interesting. People make trends interesting. And lastly, the sixth predicted trend of 2026 is all about integration and not reinvention. There's been a lot of pushback on the whole new year, new me mindset. And honestly, I get it. Instead of trying to become a brand new person every January, more people are talking about what they've learned, what actually works for them, and what they want to keep. There's this collective burnout happening. And since I don't know, like 2016, we've been constantly spoon fed new trends, new texts, new identities, new expectations, and we're just tired. People are exhausted. We're burnt out. And I think in 2026, we want steadiness, but not necessarily like stagnation. So think less reinventing yourself, buying the newest thing, or chasing the next era, and more about integrating who you already are, taking what's working, letting go of what isn't, and building on that instead of starting from scratch every year. I've already noticed this in the self-help or self-wellness, mental health space. Uh, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just my algorithm again, but I noticed more and more people focusing more on just being more you, being more yourself and not being the next you. You know what I mean? Growth doesn't always have to be loud or dramatic. I think sometimes it looks like choosing stability or saying, this version of me is actually pretty cool and I'm going to keep being this person. And I think that's the general mindset, just integrating instead of reinventing. I think it's going to shape how a lot of us move through 2026 instead of becoming something new, just becoming more you. No? So those are some of the predicted trends across various newsletters, articles, and experts. That's a lot of what I was seeing while trying to find predicted trends that weren't the typical trends like 2026 is all about the color blank or hottest hairstyles to expect in 2026 or whatever. But for fun, I have some predictions of my own. I am online a lot more than I'd like to admit. So some of this might seem a little out of left field if your screen time isn't as high as mine. So bear with me, okay? First, my first prediction, analog tech is coming back. And not just like the vinyl movement we saw pop off a while back. It's a little different. Like I've already noticed for a while now that more and more, especially younger people, they're not using wireless headphones. It's back to the wired headphones. So with that, I think we're going to see a lot more digital cameras, iPods, or other MP3 players. I think that we'll see, this is a hot take maybe. I think we'll see a resurgence in kooky landline phones, like hamburger phones or shoe phones. I don't think that they're necessarily going to replace cell phones or anything, but I do think maybe more people will either use it for fun or they're going to use it as like, my cell phone is off on these days or at this time every day. So only people I want contacting me will have my landline. And even if it's not a real landline, even if it's still like, an internet phone, I don't know what they're called, but like a Google number that just forwards to it. I think with less self-promoting online, we're also going to see more printed photos again, maybe more scrapbooking or something. I think endless convenience is frying our brains, and a lot of people are just wanting a little something more, like some friction, a little bit of work for what you get. Not struggle, but just like something to make it more fulfilling. I don't have the right word for it. But like I mentioned, technology was supposed to make life easier, which a lot of it has, but it's everything everywhere all at once. So I think analog tech is going to start coming back more this year. I also think that we'll see more specific micro hobbies. Uh, Everyone got into crochet during COVID. So I think those who stuck with it are going to start honing in on a niche, like only making pot holders or only making phone holders. I also saw a lot of people get into restoration during COVID. So I think we'll see people focusing on restoring a specific thing over and over, maybe even as specific as like they only restore this specific kind of table or they only restore cabinets. Um, Again, people doing the same thing over and over until they've perfected it. I think we'll see people doing the same recipe over and over again until it's perfected. And with that, I've also noticed more niche collectors online. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see people who are collecting like menus from restaurants they love, or collecting seashells again from their trips, or for me, rocks from camping trips. I have a lot of random rocks. I also collect golf balls that I find on my walks. I don't golf, but think junk journaling, like but more intentional, like not just crap, but actual, like saving a movie ticket, but only if you loved the movie, or saving the movie ticket because maybe you didn't love the movie, but the night meant something to you, whether it was a date or you were with friends, or maybe you went to the first movie on your own. If you don't go to movies on your own, I highly recommend going to the movie theater by yourself and seeing a movie by yourself. When I lived in Minneapolis, I did it all the time and I loved it. Just think very low pressure, no monetization, no algorithm, micro hobbies that aren't side hustles, just something where people just want to be weird in peace, you know? The third prediction I think we'll see again has been coming for some time. I think it's the renaissance of uncool. I think we're going to see people tap into their inner nerd or their inner weirdo. I think we'll see a huge surge in obscure documentaries, people watching more cable TV type of stuff like Food Network, HGTV, even if it's not switching back to cable. But I think shows like Mythbusters, How It's Made, Life Below Zero, Northwood's Law, even Plumbing National Championship. I think those shows are going to be much more popular. I think that there will also be more like long audiobooks or podcasts about very niche topics. I think we're going to see a surge in more niche YouTube pages as well. Think Outdoor Boys or Odd Tinkering, Chris Fix, or even like Boring History. If you don't listen to Boring History, it's not boring, but it's amazing. Or even Ryan Hall, y'all. I'm telling you, if you want to know about actual weather predictions that are real and true, forget your local weather. Watch Ryan Hall, y'all, during a severe weather outbreak. Last year, he informed viewers of a tornado in Mondovi in Wisconsin before the sirens even alerted the citizens there. I remember texting friends and family who live close to that area, and I was like, hey, there's a tornado. And they were like, no, there's no sirens. And I was like, no, there's a tornado. And then literally like 3 or 4 minutes later, they're like, oh, we hear the sirens. Crazy, right? He can tell you which street a tornado is on and like where it's headed and when it'll get to the next street. I always recommend his channel to anyone experiencing severe weather. I don't know if he's that niche. Like, I'm not necessarily saying that niche has to be this like underground indie, no one has heard about it, but I just think there's going to be a lot more niche shows. Like, they're just honing in on a very specific thing. I think that in general, people are just tired of being culturally up to date. So I think we'll see more people finding comfort and pride in their own weird little worlds that aren't even that weird. Another embrace the cringe trend that I think that we'll see is people being publicly bad at things. I have already started seeing more and more people post their unfinished art or projects, and I see more and more people on TikTok sharing their drafts. I also have been seeing more people like me saying, hey, I just started this and I'm figuring it out. Please be kind. Come along for the ride. Just people embracing that whole beginner's energy. Perfection culture, I think, is on the way out. We want real, and I think this kind of ties in with that. My fifth prediction is not like an individual thought. This is a pretty popular concept, third places. But I think in 2026, it's more accidental. Like, we're not forcing community, we're finding familiarity. Like, think same coffee shop, same time every week, knowing somebody, maybe you go to the dog park and you know someone as only the dog park guy. So even if you see him somewhere else, that's the dog park guy. Or if you know Oakwood Mall in Eau Claire, you know the mall walkers. It's that same couple that have always walked the mall. You might not know their names, but there's familiarity. Not everyone is wanting more friends, but I think there's comfort in wanting more familiar strangers, if that makes sense. My sixth prediction deals with nostalgia, but not in the way that you might think. It kind of aligns with my analog tech prediction. A hairstylist actually brought this up to me last time I went. She is Gen Z, and she was talking about how people are nostalgic for that 2012, 2014 Tumblr and YouTube energy, back when Instagram was pretty much just like food and sunsets and overdone filters. but it's not the past that they're nostalgic for. It's the vibes. It goes with the whole not everything needs to be content vibe that I mentioned earlier. And so I think we're going to see a lot more people bringing some of those Tumblr vibes back. I think it's been trying for a while. I saw the indie sleaze movement was trying to come back. And I think this will be the year that that all starts to come forward. Again, people just vibing, you know? Okay, so lastly, I think that the whole hustle culture and optimizing everything is going away. I mean, professionals are predicting that tech is going to be focused less on optimizing work and more like optimizing your life. I personally noticed it with the rise of the trad wife, but this time I think it's a little bit different. I think we're going to see people doing less and just enjoying life more. Whether that's sitting outside to sip coffee in the mornings. I know I love to do that. I love sitting on the balcony. Even if it's cold, I'll put a little blankie around me and I'll have my coffee. Maybe sometimes I'm waking and baking and, I play my little New York Times game and I just sit outside and I listen to the birds or the people, or sometimes I even listen to traffic. I think we're going to see a lot more people just like enjoying life, taking an after meal walk, just slowing down and not tracking every little thing. And I think this is also in line with romanticizing the mundane. I saw that a lot last year, but this time I think it's without all the aesthetics. Just doing things like running errands, cleaning, folding laundry, all that stuff, but doing it for your sanity and not for content. So even if it's being shared on social media, I think it's going to be more real and less curated and aesthetic. So yeah, those are predicted trends of 2026 along with my own predicted trends. Was I way out of left field or will these be on the nose? Only time will tell. Sometimes predictions seem totally real in the moment, but then we'll look back a year later and we're like, why did we even think that? And sometimes we're like, holy shit, am I a fortune teller? Let me know what you predict for 2026. Leave a comment or send me a message. I'd love to get more feedback from you as well. And if you liked this episode, please share it with a friend, maybe. Oh, and if you're wondering, I did go see Stranger Things in the theater. And yes, it was worth it. And yes, I did bawl multiple times. And yes, I have started my rewatch. Only this time, Cole decided he's going to watch it with me. So I believe. Until next week, love ya. Love you. Bye.